doing a memo discussion for a history paper, which is end of year paper. Yes, remember with our social sciences, we have 35 that comes from term 3 work and 40 coming from term 2 work. So now we are going to start with section A. So remember, history is always a source-based question paper, meaning they will give you sources. All right. So then here on this question paper, we have a question paper. We also have the addendum. The addendum has got the sources, right? So meaning every question you will be referred to go use the addendum or to go and find the source. All right. So here we have question 1. How did the past laws affect the lives of Black South Africans in 1950s? All right. So remember in our term 3, we learned about the past laws. All right. So now still our question 1. It states, how did the past laws affect the lives of Black South Africans? All right, here you're going to study sources 1A, 1B, 1C, and 1D and answer the questions that follow. All right, 1.1.1, you're going to refer to source A. Define the concept apartheid in your own words. All right, so when you're defining the concept apartheid, you define it in your own words. All right, for example, you can say that apartheid was a system of government that segregated whites from non-whites. Or you can say apartheid was a political, economic, and social segregation of races based on their skin color. So you can say apartheid, yes, you can say apartheid was an economic, political, economic, all right, or it was political, okay, economic, political, segregation, economic, political, and social segregation, economic, social segregation. Yes, it was an economic, social, political segregation of races based on their skin color, right? Or you can give any relevant definition. Yeah, or you can say apartheid was a system of government that segregated the non-whites from whites, right? Because during apartheid, you were either white or non-white. All right, then we have question 1.1.2. Name the act of 1952 that tightened the pass law system. That was called the abolition of passes, the abolition of passes, or you can call it the abolition of passes and consolidation documents act, or consolidation documents act, right? So it was the abolition of passes and consolidation act, right? So move on to the next one. Comment on the rights that Section 10 people had over the migrant workers who moved from rural areas to urban areas, right? So here, remember, you're going to go and do an extraction of evidence from sources 1A to L1. All right, here you can get answers like you can comment on unemployment. Unemployed, they were unemployed for long periods, they were unemployed for long periods. You can talk about ill health. You can also talk about old age. Right, so you comment on the rights that Section 10 people had over migrant workers who moved from rural areas to urban areas. All right, so let's move on to the next question. Oh, sorry. This question, this answer gets to this question, name the act, and then this one gets to this question. How, according to the source, could rights of residents to stay in a particular town be revoked? Unemployed for a long time, long periods, ill health in old age. And then the answer to this one, comment on the rights that Section 10 people had over migrant workers who moved from rural areas to urban areas. All right. So they could not become permanent residents, couldn't become permanent residents, permanent. They couldn't become permanent residents, right? Another one is they also had to find work within 72 hours in urban areas. Find work within 72 hours in urban areas. And then also, no African could leave the rural areas without a permit from local authority, meaning they had to carry their permits everywhere they could go. All right, so let's look at 1.2.1, meaning you're going to get your answers from source B. According to the source, what did the policeman demand from Blocky's father? Okay, the policeman demanded a pass, also a tax receipt. All right. Comment on the attitude of the policeman towards the men in the house. Definitely the policeman was rude. Policeman was rude. Okay. Another one, the policeman was in control. In control. Another one, the policeman was harsh. Another one, the policeman was superior. Right. So using the information in the source and your own knowledge, explain the effects of the past raid on Block Modisani. Right. So the effects were Black Modisani the effects were Black Modisani did not see his father as a hero anymore. Didn't see his father as a hero anymore. All right, another one. Also shameful towards his father. You can talk about shameful towards his father. And also you can talk about resentment towards his father for allowing the young policeman to address him impolitely. Right, so our next question, 1.2.4, what according to the source was the attitude of Modisani's father towards the police raid? Okay, Modisani's father was calm, he was gentleness, his attitude, and another one, he was hardness, his hardiness. Right. Comment on the useful of the information in the source to a historian studying how the past law was implemented for Black South Africans. All right. So this source is useful. Because the eyewitnesses account on how the past laws were implemented. Eyewitnesses account on how the past laws were implemented. That's how useful it was. How they were implemented, all right? You can also talk about the source reveals the superiority of the policeman and demands passes. You can also talk about Black South Africans had no say on the intrusion of their privacy. Now let's go to source C. I told you these addendums, right? When you look at source C here, this is our source C. This is a photograph. It shows the power the policeman had to stop Black South Africans to ask for their passes. That is source D. All right, then let's go back to our question paper. Explain the messages portrayed in this photograph regarding the carrying of passes. Let's go to source 1C. Right, when you look at source 1C, okay, this is a photograph that is portraying how Black South Africans were supposed to carry their pass. Now let's go to the question. Explain the message portrayed in this photograph regarding the carrying of passes. Okay, the first message is 1.3.1. All right, the first one is it reveals all right. The next one, it reveals the pass laws being implemented. It reveals pass laws being implemented. Okay, then consult source 1D. What, according to the source, was the opinion of Lutu regarding the pass laws? All right, let's see source D. Let's see source 1D. What was the opinion of Lutu regarding pass laws? Let's go to yes, so these extractions below describe why Lutu defined his actions of banning his passbook during his court hearing. Lutu was found guilty of banning his passbook, right? So here you read the source. What I have done because I felt together with my people that the pass system should be abolished because it causes so much pain and suffering among my people. Opinion of Lutu, we say that it is nothing less than a deliberate instruction for the humiliation of us as a nation, a symbol for slavery, a weapon used by the authority to keep us in the position of inferiority. Sir, it won't be easy for you to understand how deep-rooted the dislike for the pass system among blacks is. Black South Africans were against the pass laws. If there is a country anyway, if there is a country anywhere in the world that regularly commits a crime by preventing husband and wives to live together, separating 18-year-old children from their parents, I've never heard of it before. That is precisely what the pass law is doing to the Union of South Africa. Let's go to our question here. All right. What, according to question 1.4.1, it says, what, according to the source, was the opinion of Lutu regarding the pass laws? All right. So let's see. It was, sorry. Okay, let's see. The opinion of Lutu regarding the pass laws. All right. It was, according to Lutu, it was a weapon used by the authority. So it was a weapon used by authorities. This is according to Lutu. It was a weapon used by authorities to keep the blacks in an inferior position. To keep the blacks in an inferior position, according to Lutu. Right. Then quote a sentence from the source which indicates that Black South Africans were against the past laws. Okay, now here we need to quote. So you go back here to the addendum, and then we're going to quote we're going to quote from here that says that Black South Africans. So here we are going to come here and highlight. Okay, so we are getting a quote from here. Okay. Why we said nothing deliberately for the instrument, okay, used, it won't be easy for this, okay, from the source. So we go back here to our answer where we are supposed to write the answers, all right? So here I can say how you cut, how deep rooted the repulsion. The repulsion for the black, how rooted the repulsion for the past, the repulsion for the past. The repulsion for the past system among black is, for the past system among blacks is. Okay, since it's a quote, you need to put inverted commas. Right, so then let's go to question 1.5. Using the information in the relevant sources and your own knowledge, write a paragraph of about 8 lines explaining how did the past laws affect the lives of Black South Africans in 1950. So here, you should include some of these things in your paragraph, all right? So here you can quote even from the sources. For example, you can say, not all Black South Africans had the right to become permanent residents of South Africa. Not all Black South Africans had, not all Black South Africans had a right, had a right to become permanent residents at that time. So you can quote that is from source A, all right? Source A. You can also include that pass rates were held anytime. Pass rates were held anytime. This is from source B. Source B, you can also talk about the pass rate diminished Modisani's image of his father. Pass rates diminished Modisani's image of his father. Okay, that goes to source B. Source B. Right. So you can also add on and say Black South Africans could be jailed, fined, or sent to work for free on farms failing to produce their passes. Okay, you can also talk about it caused pain and suffering for Black South Africans, like in source 1D. You can also talk about past laws humiliated Black South Africans, source B, source 1D, also kept Blacks in an inferior position, as it says in source 1D. And also you can talk about hero image of his father, for Modisani's father, crumbled by raid. Okay, Let's move on to question 2. How did the philosophy of Black consciousness influence South African students in 1970? Okay, so your paragraph up there will be marked with the rubric as usual. Then let's move on to question 2.1. Okay. Okay, here you're going to quote 3 organizations from the source that were responsible for the emergence of Black consciousness movement. Okay, so under here you can talk about the ANC, the African National Congress. You can talk about the PAN, which is Pan-Africanist Congress. PAN. You can also talk about the SAPS, South African Communist Party. Okay, so it's 3 marks, 1 mark for each. Why, according to the source, was the Black consciousness movement formed? All right, so according to the source, it was formed as a result of political vacuum that was created by the banning and imprisonment of leaders. As a result of a political vacuum that was created that was created by banning and imprisonment of by banning and imprisonment of leaders. Right, use source B. Why, according to the source, was Tiro expelled from the University of the North? Okay, why, according to the source, was Tiro expelled from University of the North? Okay, that is our question 2.2.1. Okay, let's go back to 2.1.3. Define the term Black consciousness in your own words. All right, here you can tell us a philosophy that promoted self-confidence. It was a philosophy that created self-confidence. Okay, you can also say it was a philosophy which encouraged Black South Africans to be independent from other races. Also, you can say it was a philosophy that encouraged equality, justice, pride, and unity, or any relevant answer. All right. Why, according to the source, was Tiro expelled from the University of the North? Okay, according to the source, which is 2B2, it was for a powerful speech he delivered. For a powerful speech. Explain the influence that Tiro had on Mashining's political thinking. All right, Tiro shared his knowledge about BC with Machini. Okay, another one you can say, Tiro shared the vision of one Azania with Machini. Tiro shared a vision. Okay, Tiro shared a vision of one Azania with Machini. Tiro shared a vision of one Azania with Machini. Right. So use the information in the source and your knowledge. Explain why you think Sam Nzima did not stop to help Hector Peterson. All right. So we move here. Use the information in the source, and remember, you need to go back to the addendum. These sources given to you. All right. So using the information in the source and your own knowledge, explain why you think Sam Nzima did not stop to help Hector Peterson. All right. So here our answer, why you think Sam Nzima was a photojournalist and reported on the event as it unfolded. He was a photojournalist. He was a photojournalist and reported on the event as it unfolded. All right. You can also say to expose the atrocities and brutality of the apartheid regime. Also, Sam Nzima may have been shocked or afraid. Any relevant answer can apply. Okay, let's move on to source D. Explain why you think the editor of the World newspaper decided to publish this article on the front page. One, to expose brutality. You can talk about to expose how the apartheid regime responded to the mass protest action. Also to sympathize or empathize with the struggle of the Black South African students. Now let's go to section B, which is our essay question. Here you can answer one question in this section. Your essay should be about half or 2 or 3 pages long. This is very important instruction. We have 3 questions. The first question is Sharpeville Massacre and Langa March. Remember, this is our term 4 content. Then the other question is about Soweto uprising. Then the other one is about the release of Nelson Mandela and the unbanning of liberation movements. Okay, so now let's see with our essay. Let's go to section B. Okay, so with section B, remember your essay should be about half or 2 or 3 pages long. All right, here we have question 3, 160. We have Bill. First and foremost, you need to plan and construct an original argument based on relevant evidence using analytical and interpretive skills. Okay, you need to plan and construct an original argument based on relevant evidence using analytical and interpretive skills. So here you need to plan and construct an original argument based on relevant evidence using analytical and interpretative skills. For example, here you need to indicate whether you agree or disagree with the statement that the resistance to the past laws and the introduction of the state of emergency were the main causes of the Sharpeville massacre. All right. So you also need to substantiate the line of argument with relevant historical evidence. All right. So here, let's see. Now, that is your introduction. In the introduction, you need to plan and give an original argument based on the relevant evidence using analytical and interpretative skills. And also, you need to state you need to also, in the introduction, you need to agree or disagree with a statement that the resistance to pass laws and introduction of the state of emergency were the main causes of the Sharpeville massacre. All right. And then that is our introduction. Then in your body, you need to elaborate. All right. For example, you need to take a stance and indicate whether you agree or disagree with the um, assertion that the resistance to the past laws and the introduction of the state of emergency were the main cause of the Sharpeville massacre. All right. Also indicate how you also indicate your point of argument. Then in your body, you need to elaborate. You need to talk about the formation. And here you talk about the formation. This is in your body. Formation of the pack. The pack in 1959. You talk about the Sharpeville. The Sharpeville massacre in Langa March. You also talk about any relevant information. Then in your conclusion, you should tie up your argument with the relevant what? Conclusion. Now let's go to the next question. If you to choose Soweto uprising, with Soweto uprising still you need to plan and construct. You need to plan and construct an original argument, like also said in the first question. All right. You need to plan and construct an original argument based on the relevant evidence using analytical and interpretative skills. All right. And then you should also discuss how the Soweto uprising were caused by the government's introduction of Afrikaans as a medium of instruction in Black schools. Okay. Okay. Then after that, you need to, that is your introduction. Then in your body, you need to talk about, what were the causes of Soweto uprising, the causes of Soweto uprising in your body. What were the causes? You need to talk about the leaders of Soweto uprising. Okay. You need to talk about what happened during Soweto uprising. You also need to talk about how did the uprising spread to other parts of the world, how it spread to other parts of the world. Okay. Then you also need to talk about the short-term results. You need to talk about short-term results. Short-term results of the Soweto uprising. You need to also talk about the long-term results. Then in conclusion, you should tie up your arguments with the relevant conclusion. Now let's talk about the release of Nelson Mandela and the unbanning of liberation movement. Okay, here also you should plan and construct an original argument based on relevant evidence using analytical and interpretative skills. All right. So in your introduction, you should explain what extent the period leading up to South Africa's first democratic elections in 1994 was tense. Also, on the other hand, there were also negotiations between most political groups about how to move from white minority rule and apartheid to democracy and equal rights for all. You should also support your line of argument with relevant historical evidence. All right. So in your introduction, you should take a stance. Take a stance. You should take a stance by explaining to what extent, by explaining to what extent the period leading up to South Africa's first democratic election in 1994 was tense, and also on the other hand, there were negotiations between most political groups about how to move from white minority rule and apartheid to democracy and equal rights for all. So, in your elaboration, in your elaborations, you need to talk about the unbanning of political movements, the unbanning of political movements and release of Nelson Mandela, release of Nelson Mandela. You should also talk about the negotiations in violence, negotiations and violence 1990 to 1994. Should also talk about the democratic elections in 1994 and talk about any relevant information. Right, then we have conclusion. Here you conclude hereby tying. You should tie up your point of argument with the relevant conclusion. Right, then our paper is done.